All right, let's dive into one of the most intriguing mysteries out there, UFOs. And we're not talking about like, those fuzzy photos or shaky videos. We're going to be looking at evidence, compelling evidence, that suggests governments have been kind of keeping real UFO encounters under wraps for decades. Declassified documents, firsthand accounts from military pilots, the kind of stuff that makes you go, wait, what? We've got an expert with us today who is a master at analyzing complex information and spotting patterns that most people might miss. They can help us kind of connect the dots and make sense of this often confusing topic.
For this deep dive, we're focusing on a particularly fascinating case known as the I-Man incident. It all starts in 1967 with the unexplained disappearance of an F-106 fighter jet during a UFO intercept mission.
What's so captivating about this case is the convergence of evidence. We're not just talking about like one fuzzy picture or a single witness. We have detailed radar data, first-hand accounts from the radar controllers on duty that night, and even a potential connection to a scientific project that was attempting to contact extraterrestrial intelligence. Okay, let's unpack this. We've got an F-106 fighter jet, designated Victor Tango 1, sent to intercept a UFO picked up on radar. What happened next?
Well, the radar data is where things get really interesting. The UFO seemed to slow down as the F-106 approached, almost as if it was waiting for the jet. And then, according to Sergeant Anderson, the radar controller, the two blips on his radar scope merged together. And then, poof, the F-106 vanished. No wreckage, no distress signal, nothing. The official explanation? Unexplained disappearance.
Unexplained disappearance. That's pretty convenient, isn't it? But hold on, this wasn't just some old unreliable radar system, right?
Right. This was sophisticated technology for its time, and the controllers were highly trained to interpret the data accurately. The fact that they couldn't explain what happened speaks volumes.
So we've got a missing fighter jet
Yeah.
and radar data that defies explanation. But there's another piece to this puzzle. A 14-year-old girl named Cindy Harper, who adds a whole other dimension to this story.
Cindy was on the beach at Dumas Bay, about 70 miles south of where the F-106 disappeared, just minutes after the incident. She reported witnessing a strange craft landing on the beach near her. And what makes her testimony so compelling is the level of detail she provides.
She described this craft in detail, right? Flashing lights, unusual sounds. She even drew a picture of it. And there's that detail about the antenna on top of the craft.
Exactly. That antenna detail is crucial because it later connects to a very specific scientific project.
And then this is where things get really mind-blowing. Cindy mentioned hearing a strange melody coming from the UFO, something like a conch shell. Luckily, investigators recorded her playing this melody. For years, this melody remained a mystery. But then researchers made a startling discovery. It was Morse code, and it was spelling out the word I-M-M-N.
And that's where Project I-Man comes in. It was a scientific project led by Professor Laszlo, who was trying to send radio signals into space, hoping to make contact with extraterrestrial intelligence. Guess what the message they sent in Morse code was?
I-Man. No way. Are you telling me this 14-year-old girl on a beach somehow picked up a message that was beamed into space years earlier?
It sounds crazy, right? But it gets even more intriguing when you consider the specific frequency used for Project I-Man, 1420 megahertz. This frequency is significant because it's considered the universal frequency of hydrogen, the most abundant element in the universe. Scientists believe that any intelligent civilization out there would be familiar with this frequency and might use it for communication.
Okay, so we're talking about a signal sent out 15 years before Cindy's encounter. What are the chances that her UFO was an extraterrestrial response to Project I-Man? It seems almost impossible.
It does seem impossible, given our current understanding of physics and the vast distances involved. But what if the UFO Cindy encountered was already in our solar system, perhaps monitoring our activities and scientific endeavors? What if it intercepted Professor Laszlo's signal and decided to investigate further? That's where that antenna detail comes back into play.
You mean the antenna on the UFO Cindy drew?
Yes. It turns out that a type of antenna known as an umbrella antenna is particularly effective at receiving signals in the 1420 megahertz range, the exact frequency used for Project I-Man.
Hold on. You're suggesting that the antenna on Cindy's UFO was specifically designed to pick up signals like the one from Project I-Man. That would be pretty compelling evidence to support the idea that this wasn't just some random UFO sighting, but a deliberate response to our attempt to make contact.
It's a fascinating theory, and it highlights the importance of keeping an open mind when dealing with the unknown. We have to be willing to question our assumptions and consider possibilities that might seem outlandish at first.
So they actually interviewed Professor Laszlo about all of this. What was his reaction?
They did, as you can imagine. A renowned scientist dedicating his life to searching for extraterrestrial life would be skeptical. And Laszlo was no different. He had alternative explanations for Cindy's experience, none of which involved extraterrestrials. The interview got pretty tense, with Laszlo aggressively questioning Cindy, trying to find holes in her story.
It sounds like he wasn't buying it. Did he ever come around?
He didn't completely change his mind, but at the end of the interview, he admitted something remarkable. He said, "I still have my doubts, but there is a possibility that my signal was answered by a spacecraft."
Wow. Even a renowned scientist like Professor Laszlo,
Yeah.
someone who dedicated his life to searching for extraterrestrial life, was forced to consider the possibility that the truth might be far stranger than we ever imagined.
It's a humbling thought, isn't it? It reminds us that we are still only scratching the surface of what we know about the universe. There could be a whole universe of possibilities out there, waiting to be discovered.
So we've got this vanishing fighter jet,
Mm.
a teenage girl's incredibly detailed testimony, a cryptic Morse code message, and a connection to a real scientific project attempting to contact extraterrestrials. Are we saying the UFOs are definitely real and that the government is covering it up? I mean, where do we even go from here?
Well, let's not jump to conclusions. It's important to remember that we're dealing with a lot of unknowns. But what we can say is that the evidence in the I-Man incident is incredibly intriguing and warrants further investigation. And that's what's so fascinating about this topic. It forces us to confront the limits of our knowledge and to embrace the unknown.
It's like we're standing at the edge of a vast, unexplored ocean, and we're just beginning to realize how deep it really goes.
Exactly. And the I-Man incident is just one drop in that vast ocean. There are countless other cases out there, each with its own set of intriguing details and unanswered questions.
And,
Yeah.
what's really unsettling is that if governments have been suppressing information about UFOs for decades, as this case suggests, what else might be out there? What other encounters have been hidden from public view?
It's a thought that should give us all pause. It suggests that the reality we perceive might be just a small fraction of a much more complex truth.
Well, one thing's for sure, this is just the tip of the iceberg. We'll be back in part 2 to delve even deeper into the I-Man incident and explore other compelling cases that suggest UFOs are more than just science fiction.
You know what's striking about the I-Man incident is that it fits into a pattern of similar encounters, particularly involving military aircraft. These aren't just one-off events. There's a history here spanning decades.
Right, and we're not talking about, your average folks claiming to see lights in the sky. These are highly trained pilots and radar operators who know their stuff. They can distinguish between a bird, a plane, and something truly unusual. So when they report something out of the ordinary, we need to listen.
Absolutely. Their training and experience add a significant layer of credibility to these reports. They know what they're seeing, and they're not easily fooled.
Okay, so let's dive into another case that really grabbed my attention. It involves a group of U.S. Navy pilots who encountered a series of unidentified objects off the coast of California in 2004.
This is the famous Nimitz encounter, right? The one where the Navy pilots actually captured video footage of these objects.
That's the one. And it's not just some grainy, blurry footage either. This is high-quality video from the Navy's own fighter jets, showing these tic-tac-shaped objects performing maneuvers that seem to defy physics.
What's fascinating about the Nimitz encounter is that we have multiple layers of corroborating evidence. The pilots described these objects as having no visible wings, tails, or engines. They were hovering in midair, then accelerating at incredible speeds, making sudden stops and turns that would rip apart any conventional aircraft.
Yeah, and the radar data from the Nimitz backs up the pilots' accounts, right? So we're not just talking about visual sightings here. We have radar confirmation that these objects were real and performing extraordinary maneuvers.
Exactly. The radar operators on the Nimitz tracked these objects for days, confirming their unusual movements and speeds. And let's not forget, these are experienced operators using advanced radar systems. They know what a bird looks like on radar, what a plane looks like, and what a weather anomaly looks like. These were none of those things.
And here's the kicker. The Navy officially confirmed the authenticity of the video footage back in 2017.
Yeah.
They acknowledged that the footage is real. and that they have no explanation for what those objects are.
That's huge. You have the U.S. Navy, one of the most powerful military forces in the world, admitting that they can't identify these objects captured on their own cameras. It adds a level of credibility that's hard to ignore.
Okay, so we've got the I-Man incident with a vanishing fighter jet and potential alien communication. And now we've got the Nimitz encounter with tic-tac-shaped UFOs performing impossible maneuvers, captured on video by Navy pilots and confirmed by radar data. It's a lot to take in. What are we supposed to make of all of this? Are we being visited by extraterrestrials? Is there some top-secret government program developing technology so advanced that it appears alien to us?
Those are the big questions, aren't they? And the truth is, we don't have definitive answers yet. But what we do have is a growing body of evidence that suggests something extraordinary is happening in our skies. And for too long, this evidence was dismissed, ridiculed, or simply swept under the rug.
Right. People would just brush it off as conspiracy theories or little green men. But I think the tide is turning. More and more people are starting to take this seriously, especially as credible sources like military personnel and government agencies come forward with their own accounts.
I agree. The stigma surrounding UFOs is fading, and serious scientific inquiry is finally being applied to the phenomenon. And, what's particularly encouraging is that the U.S. government has recently taken some significant steps in the right direction.
You're talking about the establishment of the Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Task Force in 2020, and then the Airborne Object Identification and Management Synchronization Group in 2022, right?
Exactly. These groups were specifically created to study and analyze UFO sightings, to improve the government's understanding of unidentified aerial phenomena. It's a clear indication that the government is finally taking this seriously, recognizing that there's something here that needs to be investigated.
It's a huge step forward. And it suggests that they're starting to recognize the potential implications of this phenomenon, after all.
Yeah.
If these objects are indeed of extraterrestrial origin, it would have profound implications for humanity.
Absolutely. It would change our understanding of our place in the universe, our history, our technology, everything. It would be one of the most significant events in human history.
So, out of everything we've discussed so far, what stands out to you as the most compelling piece of evidence? What really makes you go, there's something here we need to pay attention to?
For me, it's the consistency of the reports across different cases. We're hearing similar descriptions of these objects, similar maneuvers, similar speeds from witnesses all over the world, spanning decades. That consistency suggests that we're dealing with a real phenomenon, not just isolated incidents or misinterpretations.
Right. It's like there's a pattern emerging, a thread connecting all these seemingly disparate events. And that pattern points to something beyond our current understanding, something that challenges our assumptions about what's possible.
Exactly. And what's particularly fascinating is the way these objects seem to defy our current understanding of physics. Their ability to accelerate and decelerate rapidly, to make sharp turns at high speeds, to hover silently in midair. It's unlike anything we've ever seen before.
It's almost as if they're operating under a different set of rules, a different understanding of the layers of nature. And that raises some pretty mind-blowing questions, doesn't it?
It does. What if our current understanding of physics is incomplete? What if there are dimensions or forces that we're not yet aware of? The UFO phenomenon has the potential to upend our understanding of not just technology and science, but of reality itself.
Okay, so we've gone from a missing fighter jet and a girl on a beach to Navy pilots chasing tic-tacs in the sky and the government finally admitting they don't know what these things are. It's been quite the journey so far. But there's one more case I want to bring up. One that adds another layer of intrigue to this whole mystery.
Oh, I'm all ears. Let's hear it.
All right. So this one takes us back to 1976 to Tehran, Iran. 2 Iranian F-4 Phantom II jets were scrambled to intercept an unidentified object that was detected on radar approaching the city. This is the famous Tehran UFO incident.
Yes, the Tehran UFO incident. I've heard about this one. It involved some kind of weapon system malfunction, didn't it?
It did, and that's what makes it so interesting. As the F-4s approached the UFO, their instruments and communication systems started going haywire. One of the pilots even tried to fire a missile at the object, but his weapon system failed.
Wait, so the UFO was interfering with their technology? That's pretty spooky. What happened next?
Well, as the pilot got closer to the UFO, he described seeing a smaller object detach from the main craft and move toward his jet. He thought it might be some kind of weapon, so he broke off his pursuit and turned away. And as soon as he did, his instruments and communication systems suddenly started working again. It was as if the UFO was deliberately jamming their electronics, and then just as deliberately stopped when they backed off.
That's incredible. And the radar operators on the ground? Did they confirm the pilot's accounts?
They did. They corroborated the presence of the UFO and the unusual electromagnetic effects that the pilots experienced. So it wasn't just the pilots' imaginations running wild. There was something real there, something that was messing with their technology.
This case raises the possibility that these UFOs possess technology that's far more advanced than anything we have, technology that can disrupt our electronics and potentially even disable our weapon systems.
That's a pretty unsettling thought, isn't it?
Mm.
We're moving beyond just curious lights in the sky and into the territory of potential threats. What are the implications for national security? If a foreign power, or worse, an unknown entity, has the ability to disable our military aircraft at will?
It's a valid concern, and it underscores the need for serious scientific investigation into this phenomenon. We need to understand what we're dealing with, what these objects are capable of, and what their intentions might be.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground today. We've examined some compelling cases, discussed the potential implications of the UFO phenomenon, and raised some important questions about our understanding of science, technology, and even reality itself.
Yeah, it really makes you wonder, like, what else might be out there? What other encounters have been sort of hidden from public view? It's a bit unsettling.
It definitely makes you question, like, what we think we know about the world,
Mhm.
about the universe.
Uh-huh.
But how do we even begin to unravel this mystery? There's so much information out there, so many theories. It can feel overwhelming.
Yeah, it's true. This topic has been shrouded in so much secrecy and misinformation for so long that separating fact from fiction
Mm-hmm.
can be a real challenge. That's why it's so crucial to rely on, credible sources, to scrutinize the evidence, and to approach every claim with a healthy dose of critical thinking.
Right. We can't just accept everything we hear or read at face value. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence,
Yeah.
as they say. But where can we find reliable information about UFOs? I mean, there's so much out there, it's hard to know where to even start.
That's a great question. There are actually some excellent resources available, both online and in print. Organizations like MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network, and UFORCE, the National UFO Reporting Center, have been collecting and analyzing UFO reports for decades. They have extensive databases of sightings that are searchable, by location, date, other criteria.
Anyone who's interested in really digging into the topic can start there. What about like in-depth analysis? Are there researchers or journalists who've been covering this topic in a credible way?
Absolutely. There are some very reputable researchers and journalists who have dedicated years to investigating this phenomenon. People like Leslie Kean, Richard Dolan, and Ross Coulthart. They've written books and articles that provide a comprehensive overview of the UFO phenomenon, and they delve into some of the most compelling cases, relying on verified evidence and credible witness testimonies.
It's encouraging to see that like mainstream media outlets are also starting to take this topic seriously. We're seeing more documentaries and investigative reports on UFOs from, major news organizations. It seems like that stigma is finally fading.
It is. It's a sign that the conversation is shifting and that serious inquiry is gaining traction. We're moving away from sensationalism and toward a more evidence-based approach to understanding this phenomenon.
Which is exactly what we need, right?
Yeah.
Open and honest discussion, rigorous investigation, and a willingness to confront the unknown, to challenge what we think we know.
Precisely. The truth is out there. But it won't just fall into our laps. We have to actively seek it out, ask difficult questions, and be open to the possibility that reality might be far more complex and wondrous than we ever imagined.
If these objects are indeed of extraterrestrial origin, what does that mean for humanity? How would that change our understanding of ourselves and our place in the universe?
It's a profound question, and one that has occupied philosophers and scientists for centuries. It challenges our anthropocentrism, the idea that humans are the center of everything. It forces us to consider the possibility that we're not alone, that there may be other intelligent beings out there, perhaps far more advanced than us.
It's both a humbling and exhilarating thought, isn't it? To realize that we might not be the pinnacle of creation, that there might be other civilizations out there with technologies and perspectives that we can't even comprehend.
It certainly puts things in perspective. It invites us to step outside of our limited frame of reference and consider the vastness of the universe and the infinite possibilities it holds.
And it's happening at a time when we're making incredible strides in our ability to explore the universe. We're sending probes to other planets, building telescopes that can peer into the depths of space, developing technologies that might one day allow us to travel to distant stars.
It's an exciting time to be alive, a time of unprecedented discovery and exploration. Who knows what we might find out there, what new mysteries await us, what wonders will be revealed.
It feels like we're on the verge of something truly extraordinary. The more we learn about the UFO phenomenon, the more we realize how much we don't know. And that's what makes it so captivating. It's a journey of discovery, a quest for knowledge, that pushes us to expand our understanding of the universe and our place within it.
Well said. And as we continue to explore the unknown, it's crucial to approach this topic with open minds, critical thinking, and a sense of wonder. There's a universe of possibilities out there, and the truth, whatever it may be, is waiting to be uncovered.
Well, I think that about wraps up our deep dive for today. We've examined some truly compelling cases, discussed the potential implications of the UFO phenomenon, and hopefully sparked some curiosity and a desire to explore further. This is just the beginning, though. There's so much more to learn, so many more questions to ask, and so many more mysteries to unravel.
And as we delve deeper into this fascinating subject, let's remember to stay curious, to keep asking questions, and to never stop searching for the truth. The truth is, here at